And thank you for joining me tonight. This is Chrystal Lynn, Cowgirl Astrologer, and I am super excited about tonight because I have somebody here to help me discuss Virgo Rising or Virgo Ascendant. So if you guys have been following my series, you know that I've been talking pretty in depth about the rising signs. And the rising signs, I'm just going to talk briefly for a second, is based on your time of birth. So this sets off your life path, and certain themes are very common to play out in the lives of the different ascendants. So we've been able to follow this and study this, you know, as long as astrology's been out. They've been, you know, very, very aware that there's very specific life path. And so tonight I have a special guest, Penny Astrology, Penny, who's going to help me. She has a Virgo rising. So we thought we would talk all Virgo tonight. How you doing, Penny? Can you hear me okay?
Excited to be here. I've been watching your other Ascendant videos, and we're going to talk about the houses. We're going to talk about how Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and we're going to compare because Chrystal has her sun in Virgo, and I have my Ascendant in Virgo, and a lot of times people don't really know what the difference is between sun and Ascendant, so we're going to let you guys know.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate this because it is really true, and it's funny because we're kind of laughing as we're getting ready. We wanted to be out by 8 o'clock, but something about the Virgo energy, as much as we try to be perfect, we're always running late. We're always kind of trying to figure things out. So, Penny and I are figuring out computer stuff and all the little details, and I said, this is just so Virgodian right now. So, yeah. Penny, why don't you start tonight and just give us a little description of the Virgo rising. If you could describe that for us tonight, how would you describe that?
I think there's a very heavy stereotype of Virgo risings, and really there are two kinds of Virgo risings: the black and white Virgo rising and the weird Virgo rising, which would be me. It has a lot to do with where your position of Mercury is. But the thing about being a Virgo rising is you don't really feel like you're good enough. You try to be like overly careful. You try to think things through and plan ahead, but a lot of times it ends up getting very frustrating, like if your plans don't work out, because it can be hard applying this stuff to the real world because we're still learning how to be organized. That's like our mission in this lifetime, to figure out the details and to try and pay attention to them, but it doesn't necessarily come naturally to us.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I was thinking about that tonight because even having the sun in Virgo, people don't really, I think, understand that our brains do work in a very specific way, and we see everything in this kind of crazy order. And what happens is we automatically go to the piece that needs to be fixed. It's like our eyes, everything about us go to that piece. But we're still trying to figure out how to accomplish putting all the pieces together in our lives as well. So just because we can see it doesn't mean that we have attained it, and we're struggling with it often more than most people.
Yeah, I'm like the only one who notices that I put my whiteboard on my wall crooked, and it drives me nuts, but it doesn't drive anyone nuts. And it's just like all these little things that I'm OCD about that I try not to be OCD. But one big difference I noticed between me and Chrystal Lynn is I feel like she can really think things through all the way. Like sometimes she thinks a little bit too much.
I know.
But
you can say it.
I have no idea like how to apply my thoughts like to the real world. Like Okay.
That was funny. That was cute.
Yeah, but Chrystal Lynn always points out like things that I didn't even notice, and I'm busy thinking about other things that, I don't know, it's almost like Virgo risings are more aesthetically perfectionist, like it's what we can see, and then Virgo sees like the things that we can't even see. And what else was I gonna say? Where was I going with that?
No, and I think that's, I'll just jump in a minute because I think it's interesting because, your ascendant, your rising is your outer persona. It's how you present yourself to the world. Obviously, there's, many different descriptions of it, but it's more of a self-awareness. And I notice with Virgo risings, they often take this in much more internally to their personal lives. Where being a sun in Virgo, it's like my mission to learn how to actually live out this stuff in the real world, in real life. But our rising also often has us reflecting inward, and I see that a lot more where the Virgo rising is actually a lot more perfectionistic and, focused on body and health, and you guys are the more healthier ones.
Yeah, Virgo risings like are health nuts. Even if we're not that health minded, like a lot of us still have sensitivities to certain foods, and we have diet restrictions, unfortunately. But oh my God, I keep forgetting what I was gonna say. It's the exact same thing. It's like not staying in my head. Oh, okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with Sun and Virgo, you guys, like, you always want things to be neat. You're not necessarily the most organized person in the world, but you always want there to be a system and a way to find things. And if you walk into, say, a friend's house or something and their stuff isn't really organized, you'll want to help them out with that. Like, you will kind of care and be concerned that their house is messy. But I think as a Virgo rising, we really only care about cleanliness and organization for the most part, unless you have other stuff in Virgo, when it has to do with our own selves. Like, I mean, we might be a little bit critical of other people sometimes. We are more critical of ourselves, though. But for me personally, if my apartment under my name is messy, it bothers me that I see it and I feel like it affects my perception of myself and it hurts me. It bothers me when other people see it too. But if someone else's apartment or under someone else's name is messy, it doesn't faze me at all. Like, I can look at a mess as long as it's not my mess.
Well, and I think that's really interesting because for me, and we'll talk about kind of having other placements and how that can influence things. My Virgo's kind of really difficult because I have a moon in Pisces and a rising in Pisces, so we've got that opposition. So I always walk around knowing exactly what needs to be done. Not only what needs to be done, I know exactly how to do it. I know how to organize. I know how to clean. I know how to get down there. But I find a lot of times that it's kind of strange. It's like knowing there's messes around me, it gives me a focus on I have something I have to do. Actually completing it and living perfectly makes me nervous. It's really weird. It's like it makes me nervous because I'm afraid that if I attain that, which I know I can, maybe for a day or a week, what my goals are, I get nervous to put myself up on that high of expectations, and then somehow, some way, if I don't meet them, now I've set this bar so high for myself, I'll always be disappointed. So I don't know if that's being older, learning how to kind of lessen your expectations on yourself, or if that makes sense. But it's a lot of chaos for me because I struggle with looking at what needs to be done, but then also struggling with getting it done and keeping it all done. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the Virgo brain. It's what we go through.
Yeah, I think Virgo Sun is better at knowing what needs to be done. And as a Virgo rising, I find myself like not knowing where to start. And especially since I really want to have things organized and I want to have it organized in the most efficient way possible, for some reason, like the way I decide to organize them never makes sense to other people. And then later on, it doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. And that might even be because you're younger, you know, and you're still developing these skills. I mean, I'm a little further down the road where I've done a lot of practical things like, you know, I've been around construction. I've seen, you know, how tile is set. I've done dog grooming. I know steps for a lot of different things that I've actually gotten hands-on, but it took me a lot of years to kind of perfect those things that I was doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're still playing with it, you know, figuring it out, you know, what's going to work, what's not going to work, you know. This is so, we're just love it. See, and Virgos love to talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, like like no one could tell you more details about doing their household chores than a Virgo can. Like they'll go on and on about their laundry and like doing the dishes and how they made cookies. Like they tell you a story and they'll like tell you every little detail.
Well, see, and I was raised, my mother's a Virgo. My sister's a Virgo rising. My other sister has Mercury in Virgo. So I was raised around a lot of Virgo. And my mom, she's Sun, Mercury, and Mars in Virgo. Okay, so there's a Virgo lingo. Mm-hmm. There's like a whole lingo that goes on. So when my family gets together, we have like this special Virgo lingo. And, you know, we sit and kind of complain like, oh, I have so much to do, but I don't really want to do it. I really just want to do this. I know. And, you know, we like talk about all the stuff we have to do and why we're not doing it. What is that? But you know, my mom, I know what it's like, you know, I've learned, you know, like with my mom, you know, if I go over there to help her with her house, you know, I'll go over there and I like to help other people. Mm-hmm. But getting my own stuff together is not as easy. But if you give me a job to help somebody else, oh, I'm great. I can focus. I know just what needs to be done, you know, but I'll be down there vacuuming and my mom will be in the kitchen doing something else, and I'll be helping her. She'll come around the corner. Did you get that hair? Are you sure you got it all? I'm like, Mom, I know how it needs to be. So, you know, I've had the Virgo treatment my whole life, too.
Oh, my gosh. Crazy.
Well, let's get into this a little bit. We're just kind of chit-chatting here. Let's get into this a little bit. So with the Virgo rising, we obviously know it's ruled by Mercury, and you were going to mention something about that. Did you want to do that now, kind of talking about that, you know, to look at the chart and see where Mercury is?
The sign in the house that you have Mercury in, it can affect your Virgo ascendant a lot. The stereotypical Virgo rising, like, will mostly wear, like, black, white, and, you know, the occasional, like, red or something like that. They'll stay to, like, one color set, and they'll want to like be really, really sure that everything matches, like your eyeshadow matches your shirt, and a little bit afraid to push fashion boundaries and things like that, you know, kind of like trying to look like a plain Jane, oh my God, plain Jane, as like perfect.
We can do it, we're ruled by Mercury.
The thing about Virgo risings is we have a tendency to almost try to make our hair look like so neat that it doesn't even look good. Because sometimes hair can look nice if, you know, it has like some body and some mess, but we'll try to like straighten it too much or make sure there's not a strand out of place. We'll just think about it too much. But for me, my Mercury is in Leo in the house of Aquarius, the 11th house. So I'm big on self-expression when it comes to fashion, and I express myself in kind of an out there way that doesn't make me seem normal. But at the same time, you know, having this Virgo ascendant, I want to be kind of modest and I don't want to attract a lot of attention to myself. So it gets to a point where it's kind of like, okay, I know I just drew my eyebrows on as rainbows, but can you please not look at me? I don't want attention.
Yes, I totally get that. I totally get that because, you know, people see me like I come on here and, you know, but like in my everyday life, like when I go to the store and stuff, like I dress down and I don't want attention and I'll wear like a hat. I'll look like I'm, been in the garden all day or something, you know, and I'm comfortable with that too, but it's kind of because I can hide. There is a shyness to it. But I think with you having the sun in Leo, Sun and Mercury in Leo, you know, it's like there's this part of you that knows you can get out there, and then that other side. Which one do you feel like dominates, the Sun or the Rising for you, as far as, or have you thought about that?
I felt a lot like my rising sign suppresses my sun, especially since it puts it in the 12th house, and the 12th house is underwater, and my sun's supposed to be fire. And what does fire do when it's underwater? How can I live here?
Right. Yeah, it's, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let's see. Okay, I just had a pause. These Google Hangouts are sometimes kind of hard to navigate, but we're doing good. We're doing good. Well, and the other thing that's interesting, and I'm bringing this up, you guys, I know my other videos, I kind of really stayed on track with the houses. I'm going to do a little bit more with Penny tonight because I love the way that Penny describes astrology, because it just works for my brain. You get very detailed. I love your videos because you go into such depth and detail, and it's like my brain picks up on all those little details. So, you know, I think it's a really cool that we can be talking about this and actually, you know, talk a little bit more about how the whole chart works together. So in this case, you've got the Sun in Leo and Moon in Capricorn. So now you've got a whole nother element that's very earthy and practical and kind of wants to control how you express yourself. Do you kind of feel those three work together, or how do you describe that for yourself?
Oh, well, Capricorn definitely makes me a lot less expressive. A lot of times I'm very reserved, you know, between the Capricorn and the Virgo there, and I'm not the most outgoing Leo in the world. I'm not as big on, you know, sharing how I'm feeling and stuff like that. It's been hard for me to be myself a lot of times, really hard for me to express emotions especially.
Yeah, and I think that Virgo really does spend a lot of time also controlling our emotions. We are not comfortable showing vulnerability, or especially that we need something or we need help. That is like the worst thing you could go through.
Yeah, it seems like inappropriate for us to express that we need help, and you know, a lot of times it seems kind of like shameful as well. I mean, it is kind of the same thing for Leo too, though, because Leo can be like very embarrassed that they're going through a hard time, but Virgo at the same time is like, oh, I'm not perfect. I don't know if I want everyone to know that I'm like fucking things up so bad and that I can't do this alone.
Well, and you know, it's interesting because this is another trait I've noticed, and my mom and I both share it. My sister, too. We kind of talk about it. We analyze and rehash everything, so how many times can you tell the story? But I noticed that, and I do this for myself, but it's almost like if my house is kind of out of control and messy, we're just using this as an example because it's up here, and Virgos tend to revolve their whole world around their space. So if you're a Virgo out there, you know, you're going to get it. But sometimes if I want to almost subconsciously like lock the world out or not have people over or not want to be like connecting, I will let my house get so messy that there is no way I would let somebody come over. And that is almost like, it's like if you were to overeat so that you aren't in a relationship. You know, people use things to protect them. And I noticed that I'll like sabotage that. Like when I'm feeling really good and want to open my heart, then everything's flowing. But if my space starts getting really out of control, I start getting depressed and I start not wanting to have, it's like there's no way I'm having anybody over here.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a back and forth vicious cycle because you use the messy house as an excuse, no one can come over, and then like since no one can come over, you're not going to cheer up. And I mean, it's a good comparison because it would be the same thing with you know, using your overindulgence as an excuse to not be in a relationship. Be like, oh, I eat too much, I need to lose weight, you know, no one's going to love me. But like really that kind of thing doesn't matter. Like if you want to have your friends over, they're not going to care if your house is messy, you know, they're still going to love you for you. And it's the same thing the other way too.
Well, and that's true, but you know, it's interesting because having a 4-year-old and just, you know, my life right now, trying to do everything, it's like not one particular thing in my life I really have in control. I have all these little things started and going, and my friends will pop in on me. And if I'm upside down, like they'll pop in on me, and they don't even care. They love me. They don't care. Come on in, move the laundry off the table, the kitchen table, sit down, here we wipe it down. But inside of me, the whole entire time that they're there, even though they don't care, I am cringing. I am nervous. I am uncomfortable.
Gosh. Me
How is that?
Okay, I had 4 kids over at my apartment, and I was sick, so I wasn't able to do any kind of damage control. But then I had some friends come over today, just really quickly, just for a minute, and I wasn't relaxed at all. I was like standing up. I was like, nobody relax, nobody sit down. I have to explain why my house is messy.
Oh, and that's the thing. By explaining it, you draw attention to it. So the first thing that people walk in the door, the first thing I say that comes out of my mouth is, "Excuse my house. I'm so sorry," you know, because I mean, it's like and then everybody wasn't even looking, and it's probably not even that bad. But nobody was even paying attention to it. But I suddenly bring attention to it because that's it's not easy being a Virgo, you guys.
Yeah, seriously.
Now, interestingly enough, I always say that, interestingly enough, the second house is ruled by Libra, by Venus. So, you know, when I think about that, that's ways we can make money. That's our values. Now, I was raised, even though my mother was a Virgo, she was also a Libra rising. So very early on in my life, I had a lot of creativity around me, a lot of art. My mom, when I was a little girl, used to take me to art shows and antique shows. So I've always had, you know, these old, valuable things in my life from a very young age. Did you experience art or anything, you know, Venetian growing up?
I think, I'm not trying to sound full of myself, I was always artistically talented from a young age. I was good at drawing. I pretty much drew things exactly the way I saw them, and I'm good at mimicking patterns, which is, you know, why I've always been so good at drawing my eyebrows on even. Even when I used to do the patterns, people would be like, "How do you do that?" And it comes naturally to me. I'm good at drawing things exactly how I see them. I was
Yeah, that's amazing, because I didn't know how you did those, and they're so like detailed. I've always been amazed at those with your eyebrows.
Yeah, but to me, it's just like, you know, it's the way I've always been. I was also kind of musically gifted. I didn't practice enough, but I originally taught myself how to play piano. I taught myself to play songs on piano. I played cello as well. I started piano when I was in elementary school, and then cello in middle school. I do martial arts as well. That kind of really started when I was 19 for the most part. My first time doing taekwondo, I was still in elementary school though. But I'm good at being very precise with like the forms and getting it exactly right. You know, good kicking form and all that stuff. Punching perfectly, making sure only these 2 knuckles hit every time.
Yeah, you're able to get those very detailed movements that are required to master a skill.
Yeah. Oh, also crocheting. And I think a lot of Virgo risings do some kind of crocheting or knitting, you know, working with our hands. And that can be a way to make money too, you know, like crafting little thingies.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think that's, you know, Mercury rules the hands. And I'm also looking at your chart. You've also got Venus in Gemini. So there's another,
Mars in Gemini.
Oh, Mars in Gemini. I'm sorry. I'm looking at half there. Venus in Virgo. Sorry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, well, and when I was a kid, see, now this is kind of, you guys that are out there watching this, when we're looking at a chart, why not every Virgo rising is the same, because you want to look obviously at other things, but even if we just take the moon or the sun, those prominent influences for myself, having a moon in Pisces, the opposition of Virgo, I was always very good with my hands, but I always had like this really good feel. like working with animals, which Virgos love to do, and Pisces are the intuitive communicators to animals. So it's like the Virgo likes to take care of them, and then the Pisces likes to communicate with them.
Yes. Like
so when I was 19, I learned how to be a dog groomer, where I had to be very precise and, you know, give them little haircuts and clip them. Oh, I was in heaven. And then I'd give them a bath in the water, and that fulfilled that Pisces side of me, where I was, you know, living out my talents even at a young age.
Yeah. And I think being empathic from your Pisces side helps with that too. Like, you will probably notice right away if you accidentally do something that's like starting to hurt the dog, like you pull a little bit too much. You're probably like better at being gentle, like having those two signs working together.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the years that I ran a mobile dog grooming business, and I trained many girls. I had like 4 vans, and, you know, we were taking care of like 400, you know, dogs and cats in our community a month. So it was a pretty big deal. And again, another attribute of being the entrepreneur. I had this little entrepreneurial business, but I was the only one who could do difficult cats or difficult dogs. People would call and they'd say, nobody can do this animal. And even though I would train other girls, they either had it or they didn't. I had a few that did, but having feel and being able to listen to the animal, not everybody has. And you can't teach it. You can't teach that element, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, let's move on to the 3rd house here. So we know that, you know, we are very multi-talented in that 2nd house. So 3rd house being in Scorpio, ruled by Scorpio, and the 3rd house representing, you know, community, brothers, sisters, cousins, neighborhood. What do you think about that? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, about neighborhood and stuff, I have to think about that a little bit more. But I know, you know, with it ruling communication, like I'm like weirdly secretive about anything I'm writing before it's finished, or anything I have on the computer. Like, it's a complete violation of my space if someone looks at what I'm doing on the computer. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, I will close it out immediately, and I'm just so weird about that. I don't want anyone reading my journals or anything like that unless I decide to publish it. I really do not want anyone's nose in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're real protective of that part of communication.
Yeah. As far as neighborhood goes, I don't know if it's like this for everyone else, but I felt like kind of a weirdo in my neighborhood. Like, maybe almost like I noticed the things that were wrong in the neighborhood, or I smelled the phoniness and the way, you know, the people who live there are, like how the perfect soccer mom type woman would like be doing cocaine behind everyone's back, and she wouldn't want to let everyone know what was wrong with her. And I have I don't know my cousins that well. You know, I've kind of had a bit of a rough relationship with them too. You know, it's not that I don't like them. I do feel connected to them, but there's been like a little bit of animosity there, you know, over one of them stealing my Pokemon card and another one being a goody two-shoes. And
well, and that's, you know, and that's kind of interesting, because when I see Scorpio there, that tells me that, you know, that's going to be difficult. It's not actually as easy to, you know, to communicate. I know in my family with sisters and cousins, even though we grew up very close, there was a lot of hidden stuff. There was a lot of hidden issues. There's a lot of competition, you know, talking behind each other's back, you know, that kind of stuff. Betrayals, what have you. You know, unfortunately, you know, growing up, it was really hard on me, because the Pisces side of me loved everybody, and I couldn't understand why there was always, you know, this difficulty within the closest people to me, who I had loved so much. Like, I overly loved and overly wanted to have, you know, because I had older sisters, so it was like, you know, I wanted to be like them, and I wanted them to love me, and yet I never could really get that there. So I don't know if that's, you know, kind of part of that scorpionic effect there in the 3rd house.
I think so. And I think, you know, with Scorpio ruling the 3rd house, you dig into communications. You think about what things really mean when people say them, and that's why we like kind of see through all our cousins' bullshit and stuff. Like we see the things even when we were kids that the adults didn't see. Like the adults just thought this was like the most well-behaved child in the world, and we're like, no, you don't know. Like when they're not looking, when you're not looking, they do all this stuff, or you know, you
Right.
just have a feeling about it that there's something underneath the surface.
Well, and I do. I think it gives us that intuitive psychic ability there where we're seeing behind the scenes. And I think also on the internet, you know, we see behind the scenes. A lot of times we feel things or see things, catch things, and we're like, that doesn't quite feel right. What is that? And unfortunately, because, you know, that Pluto there can get very obsessive when we have something that's not right. It's almost like it gets going like a tape in your head, for at least for me, and you keep rolling it around one more time and seeing maybe there's a piece I'm missing. Let me just think about it one more time. I missed something there, and you can get really obsessed and obsessive, you know, trying to figure things out.
Hmm. Oh, and another thing, you know, regarding that is like we're kind of good at decoding poems and understanding things. Like I didn't need a teacher to explain Shakespeare to me because I understood what Romeo and Juliet and Julius Caesar. I understood it all without having to be taught. I'm good at understanding what poems meant, and I'm good at like writing poems because writing a poem is like writing something in code, and Scorpio is the one that's like good at figuring out the code.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. I was good at that too. That's a good point. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth house here. Fourth house in Sagittarius. So that's ruled by Jupiter. And that's always kind of interesting to me. Now, I just want to make note, you guys, I am talking about also experiencing a lot of these issues. Even though I have a Pisces rising, you or I have experienced the effects of the Virgo energy and Virgo themes in my life, having a sun in Virgo. It's just not as dominant as my rising sign. But, you know, you'll often have, you know, many different themes in your life. You know, the rising is the most prominent, but I do identify with all of these themes that plays out for the Virgo rising. So, fourth house in Sagittarius, what do you think about that?
I don't think I'm the only Virgo rising I know who was a little runaway when they were a kid. You know, like escape the home. You don't want to feel trapped or confined. I ran away a lot. And another friend of mine who's a Virgo rising, she was telling me that she's ran away a handful of times too. And it's also kind of like this restless energy, like our heart is in multiple places. Our heart is in travel. We feel very connected to foreign lands, you know, like going outside of the country and stuff. Like, I don't know, I just always feel like my heart is in so many different places. And
Mhm.
even though I didn't move as a kid, I feel like I have to move a lot now, or at least I have to travel a lot because I don't feel content just at home.
You know, that's really interesting, and I think you're right, and I think it's interesting because, you know, like I'm home a lot now in my life just for this season because I've got a 4-year-old, and you know, I'm trying to make a schedule and trying to stick with, you know, have some sort of routine, but I'm always in another place, you know, and I think if I get in the same place all the time and don't get out and don't change my scenery, that's when that OCD can kind of really get going. Like I'll start going around and opening, closing drawers and doing like odd things that I don't normally do if I'm in the same place all the time. I'll like get kind of like, I got to get out of here. I got to go.
I get frustrated. I do the same thing. Like I become like less productive or something. Like I'll clean the same thing 5 times. But you know, I'm actually wearing like this bracelet's from Germany and this necklace is from Panama. So I'm like wearing things from different countries. You know, not just made in different countries, but like bought in different countries.
Yeah, that's interesting because this is from Alaska.
Close enough to being another country.
Now, for myself, and I mean, you know, I know getting into family stuff can, you know, can get into really deep discussions, but, you know, I was pretty independent as a child, you know. My mom was working. By the time I got a little older, she was working, and I liked entertaining myself, being alone. I didn't have a problem with those things. I mean, I come home after school and I'd have 1,000 things to keep myself occupied. But if fourth house kind of represents that mother, you know, my mother was cultured as well, and she taught me things about all kinds of things in life, brought so many things into my life. Did that play out for you that way? Or, I know, you know.
I don't know if I would say my mother is cultured. Her mom moved here from Poland, but my mom didn't learn Polish, and I don't really know anything about Polish culture other than I think they like to wear socks with flip-flops.
Right.
um, yeah.
So, well, let's move on to the fifth house, and we'll kind of, as things come up, go back and forth. The fifth house is ruled by Capricorn. That's kind of a hard placement at times, but it allows for such incredible focus and work and the possibility to make a lot of money with creative pursuits. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not trying to be hard on myself, and I hope no one else gets offended by this, but I think it means Virgo risings innately don't know how to have fun because we're too big on planning and how is this going to help me in the future, and we need to feel like we're being productive in some way. Like if I sit here watching TV tonight, you know, if it's not educational television, it's just like regular brain-rotting television, then how is that going to help me in the future? And it's almost like I can't just relax while doing those things because I'm thinking too far ahead. I'm not just like living in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was funny because, you know, I listen to different music, and I was listening to this song the other day, and I kept playing it over and over again, and, you know, and it was like, you know, all I want to do is go have some fun, you know, and I thought, it's not inspirational. It's not, you know, I'm already getting up and going. I need music that teaches me how to relax and remember what fun is. Like, allow yourself that. But it is hard because, you know, even if you're going on a trip, do I have everything? Did I get my shoes? Did I get the, you know, did I get this? Where's my towel? I mean,
yeah.
You know, we get so caught up in everything that it is hard to really, it's hard to just have fun. And, you know, that's, you know, you need that release, and I think that's where a lot of that anxiety really builds up when we don't have that release. And the fifth house is supposed to be a place that we can release and have fun, you know.
We'll think too hard about having fun. Also,
I'm gonna have fun now. Damn it.
Yeah, we gotta do this and this and this. Or like, it's almost like it's stressful to try and have fun, but it's also like really hard to express ourselves creatively because we're like so self-deprecating of our own artistic work, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, because it's like it's not going to be perfect enough. I mean, a perfect example of that for me is, you know, I just went back to school at 42 years old, and, you know, I went to school to, you know, for creative writing, for entertainment. I love to write. I'm an intuitive writer. I love to write. And the editing thing is so crazy for my mind. And I think part of it's because I have that opposition. But, you know, Virgos love to edit. We're very detailed. And I can be an excellent editor. But if I allow the intuition side of me, the Pisces, to come through, and I'm writing, just flowing, not stressing out about editing, you know, it's like that's how I need to write. And I'll read it, and I'll read it. Click that button. As soon as it's up there, I'll go and glance at it again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I miss so many little things. And that's been a real stress for me. And I hate it because, you know, I don't want to put myself through all that stress so that everything is just so perfect. Sometimes I just want to say something real quick, you know, and you know, there's mistakes in it occasionally, you know, read between the lines. I don't know. It's Facebook. You know, I don't know how to let that go. And it's really frustrating being someone who wants to write and constantly being under that pressure, because the Pisces almost puts like a fog over me when I'm reading something. Like I'm reading it differently than it is. And
Interesting.
once my anxiety dies down a little bit when I'm writing, because my anxiety gets high, even if I'm enjoying it, it gets high. Um, then I will, once everything calms down, maybe an hour later, I'll glance at it and I'm like, how did I not see all that? Like all of a sudden my Virgo comes through and I can see every mistake. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think we do too much and we try too hard when it comes to trying to express ourselves creatively and trying to have fun. I almost feel like it could be good to just give ourselves a time limit. I know that'll stress us out, but just to make sure we don't think about it too much and we don't waste our time changing things back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want, the things that are joyful for me to do, which would be writing. I don't want to turn that into a stressful situation. And sometimes you think, well, I can't do this until I'm perfect. And I think that is one of the hardest things that the Virgo goes through is they don't do the things that they really want to do because they're just overly analyzing and obsessing over, what I have to do before I can even express myself. And I think that holds us back. It wastes time. Put it out there, and if it's not perfect today, it's not perfect today. Here you go. I'm learning to let go of all of that, just trying to be more freed up.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's stuff that people are never even going to notice. There's a Virgo I met who also did crocheting like I do, and she always unraveled things if she noticed any like little flaw in them. And that can waste so much time when you're crocheting because she made like an entire blanket. A blanket takes many months to make, and she unraveled the entire thing because she realized there was a spot where she missed a stitch. And it's so unlikely that anyone would notice that. But just the fact that it wasn't perfect, like she undid all of her hard work.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I've done things like that. I've worked on, videos, editing. I've done full-blown videos and sat and watched them and I did like one little thing that annoyed me and it might have been like, whole full-blown video. I've like started all over because I might have just done something weird and it's like, why can't I let that go? It stuck out that I couldn't enjoy the whole video or I couldn't feel good about it because it was like, and it would be like, something in the background, like the picture's crooked or something,
Wow.
Oh, God. Are we exhausted already? I just say that's exhausting.
It's like a testament to like being a Virgo, just like that level of ridiculousness.
And I think people really get, I know a lot of people talk about kind of being intimidated or, the Virgo, and it's like, it's kind of funny because if people really realize that our eye is really not judgmental or critical on other people, it's really more internal within us, and that if we give you, some advice or we say, hey, you might want to think about this, like that makes us so happy to like contribute. And people get like all, offended or butthurt or whatever, and it's like, or they feel less because some, Virgo had to tell them something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's sad because that's what makes us function and happy is if we can give you one little tip that makes a difference and you go, oh, wow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And we're just so happy. But most people feel criticized because they didn't see it and we did. But you have to understand, we were given that gift. So having a good Virgo around and appreciating that, I don't know. I think I'd be asking the Virgo, what am I missing here? Can you see it?
Yeah, it makes it feel important to be able to contribute those little details, and that's what we're here for. But I have definitely seen some Virgos like come across as being rude when they were trying to help,
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and it has a lot to do with all of the elements because, what other, like my mom has Venus in Scorpio, so she's got the Virgo Scorpio energy together. So that's going to even be a lot more intense than just Virgo. I have the Virgo Libra, so by the time it comes out of my mouth, I'm looking for a way to say it in the nicest way I can say it.
Yeah, good.
Crazy. So there's a lot of elements that go into looking at all of these things. That's why you can't really just say Virgos are this way or
Yeah.
Scorpios are that way. There's,
Yeah,
you know,
I've never heard you come off as being rude, Chrystal, and like you're always very tactful.
yeah, I think that's because I have got Mercury and Venus like exact conjunction in Libra,
Hmm.
and my North Node or my South Node is in Libra. So, everything I do, I try really hard to weigh out, how I'm saying it, not just saying it. How am I saying it? How are people going to respond? I think about those things. They matter to me because I don't want to lose somebody in a conversation because I came off, too much, and then, I don't know. I have that Libra thing, so it softens the Virgo blow.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on here. Thanks, you guys, for, we're just going to keep going and see what else we can come up with here. So we've got the sixth house in Aquarius. So this is very fixed. This is very interesting to me. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it is such a weird placement, and even though Virgo rules the sixth house, to have such an unusual sign ruling the sixth house, it's kind of a conundrum. And I think that's why, as we were talking about earlier, a lot of times our like organization methods and stuff don't make sense.
Yeah. And I think, because I was thinking about this earlier today, I was kind of thinking about that sixth house, and I thought, I think that's why we really have a lot of, when we're trying to figure something out, we actually find a lot of joy in figuring out the best way to do something. And it's kind of that rebel, like everybody's doing it this way, but there is a better way. I'm going to find it. I'm going to invent it. If somebody else doesn't have it. So I think that could be intimidating, but that's part of that, rebellious side of us and that scientific mind that we're trying to figure out. We want to know, is there a better way? What's the best way to get this done?
Yes, yes. And also, like, this is a real struggle in being a Virgo. Like, it makes it hard to stick to plans or to stick to one way of organizing things because, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and that's like sudden, unpredictable.
Yeah, and I've always had a lot of strange people be that I've worked with, and just odd people, rebels. I'm kind of like this little, wanting everything kind of perfect, but I have all these like totally different people around me, and I'm fascinated by them in the work world. I love seeing people's inventions and how did they do things. So I'm very attracted to odd people when it comes to work stuff. So.
Something I just thought of, but I don't know if it's like this for anyone else. But for me, when it comes to my line of work, since I think this is because Aquarius is a fixed sign, like I want to stay with one career. Like I can be content sticking with that, but then it's almost like other people enforce the unpredictability on me or other circumstances like that I don't control. Like I'll have trouble like wanting to leave a job because I'm just like so content there, even though I know it's not really worth it for me. But then someone will come along and like fire me anyway, which is actually good news for me.
Well, actually, that's really interesting because I think it's because we are so loyal. And when we take our jobs very seriously, so when we get
So, like,
ourselves
mhm.
in a work situation. I can remember one time when I was really young and I got myself in a work situation and it wasn't really good, but I was not going to leave because what would they do without me? What would they do
Yeah.
without me? And I don't want to leave them with this whole mess. They won't be able to keep it organized, And so we think like, and then when we get fired or we get let go, it's so devastating because all of a sudden we don't have value or a meaning. We wrap a lot of our value and our importance and our feeling secure in what we do. You hear all the quotes, it's not what you do, it's who you are. Oh no, for Virgo, it's what you do. It's hard to not wrap your identity in with what you do. So we'll keep doing it thinking that nobody can live without it, but they can. So, I think it forces us to explore more where, like you said, we get really comfortable. So a couple of thoughts there. All right, let's take on the 7th house in Pisces. What do you think about this?
Well, I
How is
would
this
say,
affecting?
like, I feel like our relationship partners are really what allow us to relax and we can just connect with them spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very interesting because all of my relationships, I have been with Pisces. um, you know, and also being a Pisces rising, I have my 7th house in Virgo. So I definitely play out. I have like lots of Virgos and lots of Pisces in my life. Again, that's kind of that dual theme.
Mhm.
But I think for me it's like, again, feeling needed, feeling like you can help someone, you have the answers, and if you just do this, this, and that, everything will be great, you know. And that attracts people that need help with that. You know, we see the missing pieces and often can project into relationships, you
Yeah.
know.
I think we're also good at finding people who are kind of lost in one way or another, and like to be in a relationship with them and like try to help them, stay focused on what they need to do or help them find themselves.
Yeah, and we'll be the ones that are like, you need to go down and take care of that ticket, and you need to go pay that bill, and, you know, you need to go finish, you know, take care of those things so you can move forward. What do you need to do? Let's get on a plan. You know, we love to help someone get kind of organized when they're lost, you know, and they're like, which way do I go next? You know, ask a Virgo, and they'll get super excited to help you. You know, it's part of our makeup. It's part of what we need to do to contribute, or you know, we just kind of get feeling, if we feel like we're not useful, it is depressing for us, you
I
know,
also
in our relationships.
We're big on empathizing with the other person's point of view, and I could be wrong about this, but I think we're not normally the ones to do the breaking up because we have trouble like setting limits and boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. I've had the relationship issues, you know, and again, I've got a Pisces rising, so normally I have the 7th house in Virgo for me, and a lot of my relationships have been networking and business. I've always had partnerships and business partners and business friends, and that's just been, you know, probably having that Libra energy, liking to work with other people. But I have to say, I've always kind of attracted, you know, women that were getting off of drugs or, you know, needed a job. You know, I was going to fix them up, you know, and you know, brought in people.
Have you heard that song from Frozen? Like, he's a real fixer-upper or something like that, You watched it, right?
No, but give us something that needs to be fixed up. Oh, we're in heaven. All right, well, let's get into this 8th house now. 8th house in Aries, ruled by Mars.
Okay, this is our
That's
bad
kind of
side.
surprising us little innocent Virgos.
Yeah. Okay, I think this has something to do with how like sexual Virgo truly is, even though, it's the virgin and nowadays virgin means someone who's never had sex before. Like this is like attack you, like wow.
Well, and it's interesting because I think a lot of times that, you know, some people need sex and need relationships to completely fulfill them, or they're not, you know, they don't have a sense of who they are. But I think when we talk about the Virgin as the Virgo, it's really about being an independent woman. We're talking about women now or men, but it's like we rule. When it comes down to that, you know, we have this strong independence where we don't need it emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the Virgo sense, but we do need it physically. It's part of our balance, and if we don't have that physical balance, that's what at least my perception is, that's what throws it off. You know, it's more of a practical thing. Like, I need this like this.
Yes, like you need to perform daily maintenance. Like sex becomes a daily responsibility for a Virgo. And let me tell you, like from the other Virgo girls I've talked to and stuff, like we do not necessarily. I mean, there might be some out there, and I'm sorry if you're out there and you're a Virgo or a Virgo rising, and I'm wrong about this, but we do not get attached from having sex. Like we don't get emotionally attached. Like the emotional connection is either there or it's not, but we're like completely capable of keeping our independence and keeping the two separate and making sure sex is just physical. And a lot of times it'll be the guy or the girl if you're a male Virgo who gets emotionally attached. But people just always assume that it's always going to be the female that gets emotionally attached. And there's like a lot of Virgo women, especially that I've met, who it's just not the case for.
Yeah. Well, I think we see it as something that is very important, and because we are an Earth sign, we know that it's an earthly need, and we love it. But we're not going to let it control us, because if we give that vulnerability away as well in that area, then it's kind of like losing control. So to put it in this little area that we have control over it, I think can play into that,
And it's like there's this little fight to own ourselves sexually too, and not like let ourselves be stereotyped by other people or let other people own us just because of our gender and stuff like that. Like, I mean, Virgo is a feminine sign, so that's why I'm focusing on females so much. But I know there are males who can feel like this too, like you've been confined by your gender roles, or you feel suppressed in some way, or there's been some kind of sexual abuse that's happened in your life.
Yeah, I think that's all fairly common. In fact, sexual abuse, it's not uncommon, because you've got Scorpio in the third house. To have even had, I'm kind of going backwards here a little bit, but came up. It's not uncommon for the Virgo to have experienced, family issues there, where there's molestation from somebody close in the family, because that Scorpio can have that dark side. Or neighborhood, it's like, neighborhood stuff going on, because, that third house really rules that. So as we get older and develop into adults, it's almost like, I'm going to take my power back. This is mine, and you're not going to manipulate me emotionally with sex. There's no way in hell.
Yeah.
But, that's, here nor there. I do think that, also when it comes to like in-laws or financial stuff, or that's when the Virgo rising Virgo gets really strong and takes control. And sometimes in the family situations, that's where that leadership really plays out, is in with money, and they want to know everything that's going on. They're not going to give up financial awareness in the 8th house. They want to be in it to win it.
I was on the phone with my electricity company earlier today, and like everything in my bill, because it was a little bit different than a normal bill because I switched services. Everything in my bill, I was like, okay, what's this? What's this? What's this? And there was like $40 worth of things that I didn't actually have to pay, but they were trying to bill me anyway.
Yeah. No, that'll drive a Virgo crazy.
Yes.
Oh, hell no. You're going to be on the phone if it takes all day long to get that 50 cents removed from that bill. It's the principle of the matter.
Don't fuck with my finances, okay?
Yeah. Oh, my God. I know. Okay, let's move on to the 9th house in Taurus. So 9th house, representing, travel, philosophy, teaching, higher education, often represents the father. What's your thoughts on that? It's kind of an interesting placement, 9th house in Taurus, ruled by Venus.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a hard one to connect to, even for me. I'm like, you know.
Because on one end, like we have Sagittarius ruling the fourth house, meaning that we're like, you know, kind of like busybodies and we don't just want to stay in the home. But then when it comes to travel, we're just like stubborn, you know, not really moving. I would say, for one, I don't think we have the initiative to travel. Like other people kind of need to push us to do it for some reason or another. Like we'll need someone else to give us the little shove because, you know, Taurus is the bull, the cow, like cows tend to stand pretty still.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also think when I think of Taurus, I just automatically kind of think of, you know, obviously it's an earth sign and green grass and gardening and all of those things. I think that's the place where a Virgo, when they are going to educate themselves, is why they love so much to learn how to do like things that are very earthy. Photography, excellent photographers. Virgos are excellent photographers. Gardeners, you know, it's like me with gardening. I'm an excellent gardener, and part of it might be that Pisces intuition I have, but like I can feel when my plants are thirsty, like that will bother me. Like they need to be watered like now. Like I could be in the house and all of a sudden I'll get like this instinct, like I have to get out there and take care of this, and it's just a real knowing. But I think it gives us, you know, it's like we are attracted to learning about things that make our life easier.
Mm-hmm.
So that Venus side kind of takes care of that. What things are beautiful? How can we make life better? You know, what interests us to educate ourselves?
I also think this contributes to Virgos being like a little bit of know-it-alls because we're when we know something, we're stubborn with it. Like no one else is gonna change our minds, and it's gonna be like, you know, I know I'm right.
Yeah, yeah, that is true because, you know, and I think that's one thing, maybe if this can help people understand Virgos a little bit more, and that's our goal today, is just kind of helping people understand that, you know, we can talk about it all you want, but Penny and I are kind of showing you, like, this is what we deal with in our heads every day, and, you know, it's what we live with, so, and finding a way to contribute, you know, is very important, but our minds, because it's ruled by Mercury, we see 10 steps ahead. So if we point something out and you haven't seen it and you feel like, I should have saw that, you know, why do they know everything? You know, we just have that gift to see it much earlier than most people. So, you know, why make a big deal out of it? It's what you got to do. All right, good. Let's go on. Move on to the next thing. You know, it's like we're not sitting there. We're very practical about it. We're just happy if it works, you know. And if you've got a better idea that I didn't think of, I'm totally excited about that. Like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool. So, yeah. I don't know, right? It's not, you know, we're not as judgmental as everybody thinks. We're just trying to figure out how to make life work like everybody else, you know.
Yeah, and it's almost like this is why, you know, learning is relaxing to us, and like pushing the boundaries is relaxing to us, I guess, you know, like not I'm wanting to say like not wanting to stay in your comfort zone as well, you know, not feeling like you I'm just getting so tongue-tied. Feeling like it's okay to point out a flaw so that there can be an improvement. We feel very comfortable with making improvements. That's where we feel the most chill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and like, you know, people have New Year's resolutions, whatever, every year, like, and more than once a year. But during that time, I sit and review, and I go, what could I do better? What could I do different? How could I do it a little, you know, I love doing that. Like, that is so cool to review and figure out what you missed, and could you add that, and would it make it so much better or not? Or, you know, that was just part of what, you know, how we operate. You know,
Yep.
We enjoy that. Now, let's move into this 10th house in Gemini. This is the MC. This is the reputation, our career, how we express all of this craziness out to the world. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury, so no wonder. No wonder nobody knows what to do with us. What's your thought on that?
Well,
And
first
you've
of
got
all,
Mars in conjunction with the 10th house,
oh
so
yeah, I
that's
have Mars there too. I have more than one job, and I think it's a big thing for, Virgos and especially Virgo risings to have like career ADD. Like for our long-term goals, it's like, no, I want to be this. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Like, really big things that'll take a long time. We just like can't make up our mind and we want to do more than one thing. And it's like, oh, we're not going to have enough time.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because, when I think of Gemini, I often think of the teacher. I think of like, the local teacher, the how-to teacher. And that's, I think, a lot of times by the time we open our mouths, we immediately move into these little teaching positions everywhere.
Mhm.
It's like, here, let me show you how to do that. Or, we just naturally step up to that. So again, I think it's a great thing. My mom comes over, my sister comes over, and we have like these, like I said, Virgo conversations. And, we're working on art projects. We just sit there, look what I made. And then it's like, oh my gosh, you should put a little button there. And oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Oh my God, I got to get a little button. And we have fun with it. So I don't know if it's just something I'm so used to my whole life long of being able to talk as a Virgo and express that part of me within my family, but it's been very accepted,
Mhm.
so it's not something that seems foreign to me.
Yeah. I almost feel like it also makes like career a fun little outlet in order to be someone you're not or get out a different side of yourself. And that's why your like career will become like a different identity. Like, ooh, I am Penny Astrology. I am the Wacko Witch.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because you think of, I just thought of this right now, because you think of the duality with the Gemini, and I've always had dual names, when it came out, I have like, oh, this is this business and this is this business. It's like multi-names, multi-businesses, multi-identities. Like you said, we can juggle more than one thing.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, it's like almost like we're hiding from the CIA or something. Like we don't want them to know who we are. Just kidding.
I just wonder if it's like just a constant, like we've talked about, we're juggling all of this Mercury within our mind and just finding outlets for it so we don't go crazy within, because you people don't realize when your mind operates on that level. That's why I love astrology so much. I can literally dive in to long searches of astrology, and I love to find the little details and all the little things that, ask all the little questions that I've never even heard of. And, my mind, it keeps my mind occupied so
Yeah.
I don't have to stay in my own head, because you're just not productive in your own head for too long if you're a Virgo.
Mhm. Yeah, I always want to know why things work the way they do. Like, when I pay money to something, I want to know like who actually gets that money, like who gets what portion of the money. When I go to the doctor, I'm like, okay, well, why did that happen? It's like I'm trying to learn how to do everything. Like I have to know everything pretty much.
Yeah, how everything works. And I thought that was interesting too, because when I think back to my career, my life, like I've had, I've ran several different businesses. They all were hands-on type businesses, all working with animals, which the sixth house, obviously, rules small animals. That's why you see a lot of veterinarians as Virgos. Because I'm looking at your cat that kept popping in and out, jumping in and out. We're just really natural with taking care of the little critters, the helpless critters of the earth. But
Yeah.
I just think that it allows us to be so multi-talented.
Mhm.
I don't know. I completely forgot what at the end of that. What was that?
Yeah, but
Oh,
even when I was little, I was always like rescuing little animals, like an injured bird, an injured grasshopper, and I volunteered at animal shelters as well. So,
oh yeah. My whole life, I was bringing home every stray dog, and I'd have to get them in the house and get them upstairs and bathe them. They couldn't be
Mhm.
dirty. I did not like them dirty. I wanted them to be clean.
Bird dog.
Oh, my dogs are filthy now. I'm like, don't even come near me. Like, stay over there. But back in my day when that was my importance. And I think that's the other thing, too. Like, Virgos are really perfectionistic and want to master things. So that was my point. That I would go into a career for X amount of time until I mastered it. And then it was like, once I mastered it, I was done. I had to move on to something else. Like, that was the ultimate, to master it. Like, there's no better way I can do this now. I've mastered the formula. Now what? Let's move on to something next. And I'd start from the bottom again, all the way back up, the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I've already done like 4 different styles of martial arts, and I come in and, you know, even if the style's only slightly different, I tell them, like, I'm okay with being a white belt again. Like, just give me my white belt, you know, whatever.
yeah, I think we just really like the process of every step. Every step. It's like each one is so intricate. All right, let's move on to this 11th house in Cancer. So what do you think about that? Let's talk about the 11th house. What's your thoughts on the 11th house?
We get so attached to people we, like, barely know. Like, you know, friends. We like to feel like we're included in the community. Like, we like that little, like, homey type of relationship with our friends. You know, we want them to be like our family members. Like, a lot of times there's like sort of a mom that we have, you know, like a second mom or, you know, second siblings. It's like friends are the family we never had.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I found myself, especially as I got older, even when my son, because I have a son who's 26 years old, and like all of his friends would come to our ranch, and I put them all to work. Of course, they all had to work. They weren't just sitting around, pick up a rake, keep talking, you know. So they would help me run the ranch, and they were all just like all the hoodlums, you know, in the neighborhood. And I became like the den mother, you know. I just had this natural mothering instinct to want to kind of take them all under my wing.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you get older, those dynamics change, and I think that's why even for myself, you know, I kind of feel like I'm not sure, you know, where I fit into this whole astrological community. Like, a lot of us have connected, and it's hard because I have astrologers and friends that are older than me that I respect, that are my, you know, mentors in astrology, so to speak. But I find myself having the desire and the want to and the love to kind of look out for people underneath, and can I help? And, you know, I just, that brings a lot of happiness to me when, you know, I can participate in that, you know, and be kind of that. Somebody called me the other day her astro mom, and I'm like, I love that. I'll be your astro mom.
Yes, exactly. See, every community I'm in, I feel like I find new parents. Like, I have my World of Warcraft mom and dad. I had like, you know, for the company I worked for, I had like my mom, dad, and my siblings there. And, you know, you'd probably be my astro mom too, because there are like other astro moms who left me on other people's doorstep.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I mean, I just like, and it's really funny because I won't judge anyone. They just come to me and say, will you be my astro mom? I'm like, okay. I don't care what you've done. Come on in, honey. You know, I just get like that. It's like, that's where I am like over motherly. Like, because I see the big picture. So a lot of times and I get a lot of, you know, readings from young people, and they come to me and it's like, you know, okay, this is part of that energy that I embody. So why would I do anything different? You know, let it happen. And it's a beautiful thing. Of course, in life, there's always boundaries and all of that stuff, but it's part of our nature. We're talking about the themes and the nature in the Virgo rising, and often in the sun in Virgo, moon in Virgo, you'll see some of these themes going on in your life. So, all right, Penny, bring us home with this 12th house in Leo.
Oh no, that's where I am.
Yay!
Oh boy.
Yeah, and you're the sun in the 12th house specialist discussioner.
Yes, I am the 12th house expert. I have my monopoly there, even though, you know, I'm young and I haven't written any books yet. But anyway.
All that being said, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That's my And I do that in my videos. I'm like, oh, that's so annoying.
No one else thinks it's annoying, you know, it's just us overthinking. But yeah, it's I think 12th house in Leo, it makes it seem like it's not as okay to be ourselves or not as okay to be full of ourselves and just like appreciate ourselves. It's what really underneath is causing us to act so modest.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Because that's the thing when, a lot of times when I talk to Virgos, they're like, you're so shy, or I'm so shy, and I have a hard time getting out there. And that's that 12th house in Leo, because deep inside in that place where only we go, we know we're creative. We know we have so much to offer. We know we can make a difference. But when it comes to getting it out there, boy, I mean, you really have to get to know a Virgo to get the best of a Virgo. You have to really get, if you can get in there, in through the doors, and they let you in, whether their house is messy or their house is clean, and they let you in, and they let you be a part of their real world, you're going to get that sun shining. That sun's going to come out, it's that Leo energy will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, now as far as, you being a Leo, you've got the sun there and the 12th house, kind of talking about that. So that's that other part of that. Your ego wants to get out there, but then this other side's kind of pulling you in more secretive. Don't put it all out there. Don't give it all away.
Yeah. And I do feel like I try to let people know who I am, but as a Virgo, I think it's just really hard to be yourself because it seems like being yourself just isn't okay for some reason. Like it's not socially acceptable, or you do worry about what people will think. Even people like me who manage to look like we don't care what other people think because we do our makeup so weirdly. Like we still think about it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I keep going back to that third house in Scorpio. I keep going back to there, and I think for myself, and obviously having so much Pisces, I mean, that's a whole nother subject of I don't have a filter of expressing myself emotionally. Like it comes through my pores and comes through my eyes and however I'm feeling. So it's really an opposition. It's really a conflict because the Virgo in me is constantly trying to pull it all together and stuff it back in the box. My God, get it together, girl. And then, this other side is seeping through. But I have found the times, and unfortunately this has been true, the times that I have been vulnerable, the times I have trusted people, the times I have showed my real side, I always get like a stab. I always get hurt there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and sometimes I'll be talking to people and all of a sudden, like, I'll show a little more vulnerable side and I'll be myself. And then, like, when I wake up the next morning, and it might be on a message or a phone call, I'm like, oh, my God, I shouldn't have done that. I just shouldn't have showed that much of myself. Oh, I'm just so uncomfortable because I'm so afraid that, it's just going to be used against me. And that's just been my experience, that it has been. So
yeah,
that's the difficulty.
For me, lately, especially like whenever I've told someone I need them, that's when I lose them, or when they'll like literally slap me in the face or something, or just like do something to force me to have to leave.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I think, we have a really hard time saying we need something. So if you have a Virgo friend and they actually have expressed something vulnerable or important to them, and they've, given you that side of them, it means much more to them than it might mean to you. It means a lot more. It's a lot more of a sacrifice for us to, open up and show that side of us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Wow. Well, I guess after this video, you're gonna either love us, or you're gonna go, oh my gosh.
I think they're gonna love us. They're all gonna love us, even though Leo is our 12th house. Like,
Well, see, and I have Mars in Leo. You've got the Sun, Mercury in Leo. So that is why I can even come out here, is because I've got Mars and Leo in my 6th house. Okay, that's, I'm a Pisces rising, but you know, it pushes me out. It pushes me out that I can express myself, you know, and I can, you know, put myself out there. But you know, you guys see me come out here, but in between videos and in between things, I'm always talking myself up to, come on, you can do it. Or there's days I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even open up to anybody. Like, it's a struggle. It's not, you know, if I didn't have that Mars and Leo, like, that ignites me and doesn't allow me to be content in the background, I'd probably be happy just in the background. So I think Virgos can be excellent assistants, but I think they can be amazing leaders. It's just, you know, if they're given the freedom to be who they are and they aren't stopped and people aren't, you know, they just let them do their job. Oh my gosh. I mean, look at Mother Teresa. Look how much she accomplished on this earth, you know?
And we're all too ready to give other people the limelight. Like, it's pretty much what we want to do. We want to let the sun shine on someone else, and we want to be in the background helping with the details.
Yeah. But, and I have found this myself, I've spent so much time, you know, because I love to help people and love to help with details. I realized this the last couple weeks. I kind of went through a whole process in my head. I'm like, do you know how many hours I've spent giving away, try this, how-tos, here's a tip, let me help, and I, again, love to do it. Meanwhile, all my stuff's out of control. None of my stuff's getting finished. None of my stuff's getting done. And it's because I find more joy in helping somebody else than I do really helping myself. But you know, they're not losing sleep at night if I can't eat. So I got to go to work, and I'm the only one who can really, you know, say, you know, you got to do this, girl, for you, you know, for your life. And it's hard for a Virgo to really put their life, because we're just not so egocentric, you know, we're just not.
Yes, so. Very true. Just trying to do things for ourselves, that's the challenge, you know. We want to do things for other people.
Yep. Yep. And I noticed with this is kind of a funny little thing, but you guys might notice if you watch YouTubers or watch channels or anybody that's Virgo or Virgo rising, there's a lot of playing with the hair. There's a lot of doing, and I didn't even know I did that much until I started like seeing some of my videos, and the whole time I'm like, I do it too. I didn't know I talked with my hands that much until I watched my videos. Like, my whole hands have to be a part of my whole expression, or I just can't. It's not fulfilling.
Yeah, it makes it more exciting to talk with your hands, though. Like, I don't even have to be saying anything, you know. I could just, like I'm saying something, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if we're trying to, you know, punctuate with our hands, but it's kind of funny. I just laugh because you were doing your hair, and I was over here doing my hair, and I've seen other people talking that have Virgo, and they all do the same thing, so it's kind of cute. So. All righty, well, Penny, this was awesome. Did you have any final comments? I mean, I know this was a lot of information, you guys. The video's probably gone on a while, but you know what? This is all insightful information if you're a Virgo, and if you have the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, any strong placements in Virgo, you know, I hope that this discussion might be helpful to you. Like, yeah, I can identify with some of that. But as the Virgo rising, I think it's a beautiful energy. I think it's extremely talented, extremely productive with the 5th house in Capricorn. A lot of opportunity to make money based on what we love to do. Even if it doesn't look like we have fun, we love to work. That is our fun. So, you know, it's like I've always made money in the things I had fun doing and I love to do. So I think that's a 5th house Capricorn thing. So, any final thoughts?
Well, definitely anyone who, like, relates to this or has some input, like, leave it in the comments below, and, like, we'd love to hear about it. Really, I want people to know that Virgo isn't such a boring sign. Like I know it's one of the worst signs to read about because I swear, like most writers, especially the generic horoscopes and the newspapers and stuff, they'll make Virgo sound very boring,
Yeah.
and it's not like that. There's more to us.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you look at a Virgo, a lot of times, they love all of the old rock and roll. They'll be attracted. Like my husband's in a motorcycle club. I love Harleys. I love leather. I love to get out there and like do earthy things. Ride horses and sit on the tailgate and go to concerts. And it's like we love to do. If we do love to do things, it's earthy things. It's people's talents. It's people's hard-earned sweat. We like to see people working.
Yeah. I think we can be kind of like adrenaline junkies too, like into things that are like dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. That's probably that eighth house Aries, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And one last thing I'll comment on, and this has been true, and I had a child, a third child, many years later in my 40s, and fifth house Capricorn for you Virgo ladies out there, or Virgo rising ladies. It is not uncommon for Virgo women to have a later in life baby in their 40s because that Capricorn ages things and matures things. And I feel like I'm just now ready to appreciate being a mother at 40. Isn't that crazy? And my mother had me. I was a late in life sneak in there baby. Both my sisters who have strong Virgo have had the third child that snuck through almost in their like 30, 40s later in life. So I've seen it be really common in my whole family. So if you're over 40,
so have a baby when I'm 40. That's what I'm really
out.
I haven't even gotten started yet. You people think I'm too young to have a baby. Just wait till I'm 40.
Hey, well, and that's the thing. The Virgo, when you look at the Virgo, the time that they mature the most is from, I believe, like 37 to 42, like that mid-age, or 40, yeah, 37 to 42, 43 is when we hit our prime. And honestly, that's usually the time because, again, Capricorn also, because that's fifth house is love, romance, children. We usually don't find the love of our lives or the man or the woman till we're older. And that's where that little sneaky baby comes in.
Sneaky baby.
So just so you know what you have to look forward to, pace yourself. Well, Kenny, I want to thank you so much. I had such a great conversation. It's really nice to be able to speak your own language with someone and talk about these things honestly, come out here and just share with people. These are all part of the attributes and characteristics we go through. And if you guys want to find Penny, I will put her link below. Tell us about your channel right now? Are you doing anything new? I know you've been taking a little break, but I'm here to motivate you. What kind of thoughts do you have for your channel for the future here? Any thoughts?
I still have a few old videos that I recorded like months ago that I need to upload because it's been a while, but what I'm planning to do is I want to start doing Google Hangouts probably every Sunday with maybe a friend or two, a couple people who are knowledgeable about astrology. And what I want to do is I want to offer a free reading to one person each time we do one of those Google Hangouts. I don't know if they'll be weekly or monthly, but that's like the big thing that I want to start doing. And thank you so much, Chrystal Lynn, for like getting me out of my shell and getting me to do like the first video that I've done in months. Like my webcam has just been collecting dust and I've just been feeling like such a hermit and like I can't even do videos anymore, but it was so fun talking to you. Thank you for having me on your channel. It was amazing.
Oh. Well, you're so welcome. I think it was one of those meant to be situations. I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but I had been thinking about you. I hadn't seen you much lately. We haven't even talked in, it seems like, a couple months. And I thought, who do I know that's a Virgo rising? I'd really like to get someone to come on here with me and talk about it since it's Virgo. People are sick of hearing me talk about Virgo. And I thought about you. And then I thought, oh, she's too busy. She's probably busy. And then I was going to do the video tonight, and boom, you messaged me out of the blue, and I went, all right, that's the kind of stuff I like. So, well, I love you, Penny. And, you know, when I first started my channel 2 years ago, you were my first person who commented on one of my videos, my first video. I'll have to go look back at it and send it to you, because I remember being like, oh my gosh, somebody commented. And it was you. So
Yeah. I love your videos so much. Like, I'm trying to give you like a little like webcam hug. I'm so glad that you're still doing it, because I feel like you're amazing at like making this like really spiritual connection with people. Like, their energy is just like understood, because you empathize with people a lot, and you're very considerate.
oh, well, thank you. Well, you know what? I feel what people go through, and I can feel things. And it's hard being an empath, and especially even on the internet, because, you know, I can feel it in people's writings. And so sometimes I do. I just, all of a sudden, I'll just take on a motherly feel. I can't always control that. And, you know, when you first had your baby and I was watching you develop, I was like, she needs a little Astro Mom. So I kind of made myself available to you, and you know, we've become friends since then. So I appreciate you, Penny, and I will put the link below. Go check out Penny's videos. They're awesome, you guys, for being as young as she is. Yeah, extremely connected, spiritual, intellectual, detailed, and fun. Great combo.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess we have to say goodbye, you guys. Please, if you have any questions, question below. And yeah, now we're tired. See how tired Virgos get? That was a lot of Virgo work. But I had a good time. So thanks, Penny.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, everyone.